Remember, after the Orlando Pirates game, Brendan Peterson was seen shouting at Kevin Johnson. And apparently, the management took exception to this and they put him in his place. Because, according to reports by Sowetan, they are saying that the club was not happy with his actions and they said that some things are better done in private. And I know a lot of people are going to say Peterson was wrong because Naiwa's Lisa, so who is he to shout at the coach for losing and stuff like that. But I will say, can we just reverse our roles a bit and go back and say, remember what Kevin Johnson said after that game, after Peterson had shouted at him? He said that he wants players to do that because it shows hunger. And I agree with him. If Peterson was angry because of the decisions that Johnson made in that game, I'm with him. Because if I see that someone is hungry and angry at the fact that we lost, that means that player actually does care about the club. Because there are a lot of people who have been questioning the commitment of Kaizer Chiefs players to the club. And yet when we see one player who's actually committed and is willing to even shout at his coach to show his dissatisfaction because he wants to win, why then muzzle that player? Because if you are saying that there are things that are better said in private, so that means I must pretend I'm happy, and then when we go to the side and then I start telling you, by the way, coach, you suck. Because I feel like as much as on a professional level, for them internally as a team and as a brand, which is the most important thing to them right now, it doesn't look good for them. But for us fans, we want to see the hunger. I know Vele, a lot of people don't like Peterson already because of the number of mistakes he has made this season. But I still think it makes me happy if I see that a player is not happy with a loss. Not to go to see a loser and then was smiling with Pirates after the game. Understand once again the sportsmanship there, but just moving on and then posting on TikTok like nothing happened in the derby. That is not on, right? So I need to see the anger. And the thing is, the other thing is that now Peterson, as much as the club has forced him, because they're not going to say was forced to apologize, he was made to apologize to Johnson. Him apologizing to Johnson doesn't solve the problem now, does it? Because even though Johnson is going to say, yeah, apology accepted and let's move on, but the truth of the matter is, Peterson was not just angry after the game. Even during the game, he was standing up, actively pointing what the other players should be doing or are not doing. And Johnson was just sitting, folding his hands. Or sometimes was just standing there, folding his hands, and Peterson was the one doing the coaching. And then the next stage to that is that silence Peterson now and say some of the things are better said in private. But are you really, you, one-on-one, let's just say you and me are sitting in one room, are you going to tell me that you think that every other Kaizer Chiefs player is happy with the tactics that Johnson is using? Are you going to tell me that there is no other player at Kaizer Chiefs who's frustrated by how the coach is doing things? Are you going to sit there and tell me that Ranga is not frustrated with the amount of game time he's getting? Are you going to tell me that Uranga is also satisfied with where he's played when he's given that game time? Are you going to tell me Ugutu Duba is happy about the fact that he was benched after he had scored a goal against Arrows? Are you going to tell me once again that Usamgelo Zwane is happy that he's not playing right now? Are you also going to tell me that Unjabulo Ngobo is one happy chap about the fact that, hey, I also performed, but look, I got benched again. For what reason? I cannot tell you. So it's clear to me that the frustration is not just on one player. And trying to ignore this by correcting one player, there's going to be another one who's going to act out. Or worse, if these players are not acting out, what is the alternative? Because one, I look at what's happening, I'm like, okay, the club doesn't seem to care about this. Let me show my frustration. But then they muzzle you. They shut you up. So what's your next stage? Is to play like you don't care. Because what's the point of me giving my 150% every time I'm given an opportunity to represent the club, but then the coach is clearly not serious about the club? The coach is actually not smart enough to coach me, right? If I'm a player, I'm thinking that. But also, I'm also thinking, why is this management keeping this coach who's clearly incompetent to coach a club of this size. You understand? So now, if you are going to say, do not speak to a coach like that, do not be shouting at a coach like that, then what's going to happen is the fact that now players are just going to show their frustrations in other ways. We saw in the other derby, this derby players played, there were no hands that were thrown in the air. But in the other derby, players were throwing hands in the air in frustration. So now it's 2 derbies in a row, and we have seen 2 incidences under the same coach. The plumber that you called Uzwane, there was never throwing of hands in the air when he was coaching. Players were committed from start to finish, and they won both those derbies and lost the other one because Uhlanti switched off. But the point that I'm making here is that it doesn't help for the team to keep on addressing symptoms, because Peterson, what it did to the coach, it's a sign that they don't respect this coach enough. The fact that under the same coach, players have been found drunk, it's not drunk, but with alcohol in their system, or coming to the training with alcohol smelling all over them. That's a signal. That's a symptom. And Bona, they are busy saying, we're going to suspend Ukune because he drank and came to the training. We're going to suspend Umtansan. Oh, Utoli is fat. We're just going to say he's fine because the coach is saying he's fine. So who are we as the management to come out and say, coach, address the fitness of the players? Because if the coach is saying, Umsheni, looking the way that he's looking right now, he's fine. So in that sense, it then makes everyone say, the coach is not taking his job serious. The management is not taking his job serious. So why should everyone else take their job serious? So we are going to continue tolerating and accepting mediocrity because of the fact that the management is busy addressing symptoms. And the longer they keep on addressing these symptoms, this disease is spreading wider and wider because they are not healing it. And the thing is, they know the problem. You know the problem. I know the problem. Everybody knows the problem. They should do and make changes because the players have lost respect or are continuously losing respect for the current coach. And if that is not addressed, woe to us. Do you think the club was right? Or do you think that Peterson was out of line? If you think he was out of line, let me know why you think he was out of line. If you have watched this video to this far, please do make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals alphelu moya.